If you've ever watched any cooking shows on TV, you've seen how hectic a commercial kitchen can get. Fast-paced activity, fire, and sharp objects make a commercial kitchen a breeding ground for possible accidents. Hi, welcome to SCF Arizona's Focus on Safety. I'm your host, Greg Fernandez. In this series, we bring you information so you go home safe from work every day. Here's some do's and don'ts to help keep you safe while you work hard to make your customers happy. This is Juan Carrera, and Juan's going to be helping us out with some demonstrations today.
Yes.
Juan, I'd like to thank you very much for participating today in this. Working in a commercial kitchen means working with sharp objects. Professional knives are essential pieces of equipment in many kitchens, but they can also be very dangerous. You need to choose the right knife for what you need. If it's so small you have to struggle, you have a good chance of getting cut. If it's too big, it can slip off what you're cutting and cut you instead. Only use knives for cutting food. Using them for other things can hurt you. Keep your blades sharp. Dull blades are the leading cause of knife injuries because food gets stuck, blades can break. Always use a cutting board and use a cutting motion that goes away from your body. Great job on demonstrating that knife use safely. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to a good lunch.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Juan. I appreciate that. The way you deal with knives when they're not being used is also very important. When you store knives, store them in a knife rack or a block, not loose in a drawer. And don't drop a knife into a sink full of soapy water. Someone groping around could really hurt themselves. When you set a knife on a counter, set it away from the edge so it doesn't fall. But if a knife is falling, let it fall. It's easier to clean it off than it is to get hurt. Slicers are used for food, but they're still power tools. You wouldn't mess around with a table saw, and a slicer's not a toy either. The machine guard on slicers is there to protect you from sharp edges and moving parts. Don't ever remove it unless you're cleaning the slicer. And before you clean the slicer, be sure it's unplugged, turned off, and the blade adjustment is set to 0. Before you use a slicer or any kitchen tool, make sure it's in good condition, including checking the machine guard. When you're not using the slicer, make sure the blade is locked by using the locking features. Check that the power cord isn't frayed or near water. Make sure your slicer is stable on your work surface so it doesn't slip while you're slicing. And make sure that your work area is clean and free of clutter so you don't slip either. When you're slicing, keep your full attention on what you're doing. Secure the meat properly so it doesn't slip. Always use tampers or pushers, not your hands, to push the food into place. And never use your hands to feed meat into the slicer. Never reach across the blade for any reason. Now, let's talk about burns. Commercial fryers are essential pieces of equipment in many kitchens, but if fryers aren't used safely, they can cause severe injuries. Fryer oil is hot, usually around 350 degrees. Only add oil up to the fill line. When the oil heats up and you add food, a fryer that's too full can overflow. Before you clean a fryer or the vent filters, let the oil cool down. You don't want to be reaching over hot oil. Don't drop baskets or food into the fryer. Lower them in slowly and carefully so the oil doesn't splash you. Use high quality oil. Higher quality fryer oil, like canola oil, has fewer impurities and is less likely to splash or splatter. But just be aware that vegetable oil burns hotter than animal fat, so take that into account as you use the fryer. And don't pick up a pan of hot grease, especially if it catches on fire. This is one of the biggest causes of severe burn injuries. Don't splash water into hot grease because it will splatter. Oil and grease aren't the only hot liquids to watch out for. Water at 155 degrees can scald you in only 1 second, and boiling water's hotter than that. The steam from cooking food can also seriously burn you. When you lift the lid off a pot or pan, lift it sideways so you can use it as a shield to help protect your face and body. Steam can also seriously hurt your eyes too. And just like with hot grease, don't drop food into boiling water. Be careful as you handle pots of other hot liquids too. Some of the most common scald injuries in commercial kitchens come from hot coffee, tea, soups, and sauces. Check dishwater with one finger before you stick your whole hand in. You can also get burned from touching hot solid surfaces too, like pot handles, bakeware, range tops, heating units, and hot food. Keep pot handles turned toward the stove so you don't accidentally knock them over with your elbow. Even if the oven or stovetop are turned off, they could still be hot. Make sure they're completely cooled off before you attempt to clean them. Of course, the worst thing that can burn you is fire itself. Here are some ways to help prevent kitchen fires. Keep electrical cords away from heat and don't overload sockets with appliances. The chemicals you use to keep the kitchen clean may also be flammable. Keep them well away from fire or heat. Be very careful where you place your kitchen towels or oven mitts. Many kitchen fires have been caused by someone in a hurry laying down their kitchen towel or oven mitt near a flame or pilot light. Check food often while it's cooking. Hot grease and oil should also never be left unattended. You need to know what your cooking temperatures are, and especially make sure oil and grease don't get too hot. There are 3 danger points for hot oil: the smoke point, the flash point, and the fire point. The smoke point is when the oil begins to smoke and discolor. This means the oil is getting close to the flash point, which is when the oil can erupt into flames. At the flash point, there are wisps of flame. At the fire point, a fire is burning. The flash point is around 600 degrees and the fire point is around 700 degrees. Check out the area around the fryer. Make sure that it's clean and don't work around the fryer if the floor is wet or oily. You want to make sure oil and grease don't build up on the floor, so clean the floor often. It's also essential that you keep grease traps and vents clean too, because the buildup can cause fires. Oil and grease can easily build up throughout the kitchen. Even if the top looks clean, the range top should be cleaned above, below, and on the sides. Remember, grease fires burn hot and fast. If oil in a pan catches on fire, do not move the pan. It's a good idea to keep small metal lids within easy reach, just in case you have to smother a small grease fire. Don't ever throw water on the fire, that will only spread it. And don't waste time with baking soda. If it's a small fire, there should be fire extinguishers nearby, and they should be Class K extinguishers. But if the fire is too big, stay low and get out of the building. Call 911 once you get out of the building. Let's talk about what to wear so you don't get cut or burned at work. Long sleeves and loose clothes can easily catch fire and dip into hot water or grease, so wear short sleeves with close-fitting clothing. Don't wear long necklaces or bracelets that could easily get caught in the slicer, and keep long hair tied back. Cut-resistant gloves like this will help protect your hands when you're cutting or slicing, and this apron will give you an extra layer of protection from hot liquids. Always use oven mitts or pot holders when you're moving food around or taking things in and out of the oven. This oven mitt that covers your forearm will also give you that extra layer of protection. What should you do if you or someone else does get burned or if a fire starts? For scalds and burns, get away from whatever has caused the burn. If clothes are on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Remove any smoldering clothing, but if the clothing is stuck to the burned area, don't try to remove it. Instead, cut around the clothing, leaving the burn intact. Remove any jewelry. Hold the burn area under cool running water for at least 5 to 10 minutes. If it's a severe burn and an ambulance is coming, keep going till the ambulance gets there. If a blister has formed, don't break it. Protect the burn with a dry, sterile covering like a gauze bandage or clean cloth. Do not apply any ointments, oils, or sprays to the burned area, especially grease or butter. If the burn is serious, seek medical attention or call 911. Any burn that completely encircles the hands or feet or on the face means you should call 911. Any burn victim who feels dizziness, confusion, weakness, fever or chills, shivering or cold sweats needs emergency care. You work hard to serve your customers, but don't forget to serve yourself by staying safe in the workplace. Thanks, Juan. I really appreciate your help today.
My pleasure.
I'm Greg Fernandez. Thanks for watching Focus on Safety. For printed safety materials, visit SCF Arizona's website at scfaz.com.